in relation to the video I posted yesterday that I called God-nitive Process and the MBTI. So I'm listening to this podcast called Brain Science Podcast. I'm like, what's the P stand for? And this one is called a BSP 108, Consciousness and Social Perception. And there's with Ginger Campbell, and there's a neuroscientist on. His name is Michael Graziano. And so I recorded this big long thing. I'm going to cut it off so I could just play this. Check this out. Because Brian2315 and I had, I think that's her name, we had an exchange in the comment section of it. And this is basically what we were saying. Oh, let me roll up my window.
Would you mind addressing something you said in the book? You said your theory is probably the only theory that you know of that's both atheistic and deist.
Right. Very subtle point. I always get in trouble with both sides for that. Really, most people would consider it an atheistic theory. What is any god, any deity, or any ghost or angel or non-physical presence? In the theory, these things are attributions. The social machinery in the brains of humans constructs models of minds and attributes those models to the spaces around us. So what is God? God is humans attributing a consciousness to all the events in the universe that are otherwise unexplainable. That's a very atheistic approach. But I think one of the things I'm trying to say is that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And it doesn't mean it isn't interesting to study. It's just that the phenomenon is different from how most people think about it, or most people would like to think about it. So I find it very interesting, actually, from a scientific point of view, to study not just why people believe in God, but what is that model of a mind? What are the properties it has, and what in the brain is computing that? What are the triggers for that? So there is something there. There's something that's actually real that can be studied. There are some other subtle philosophical points in there as well. But I think there's a tendency in science to say, well, if it's religion, let's just ditch it and not care about it because there's something icky about it. And the point of view I wish more people had is religion is this really interesting human phenomenon, and spirituality and spiritual belief in minds that are disembodied is something that has deep roots in our social cognition and is something that plays a huge role in shaping human society. And it's something that's very fascinating to study, very fascinating to look at in detail.
So I'm going to shift gears for just a minute here and ask you if you have any advice for students interested in going into neuroscience.
My advice for young scientists and old scientists and all scientists, pursue insight. I think there's a lot of pressure to pursue acceptance and career and promotion status and so on. In order to do that, you very often have to avoid new ideas. It's very hard to convince people of new ideas. No better way to get yourself stigmatized in the scientific community than to start proposing new ideas. But really the purpose of science is insight, gaining new insight. And so that would be my advice. If it's really science you're interested in, one should aim for exactly that, scientific insight. Keep that in mind as the goal, because that's the most satisfying and the most fascinating part of the whole process.
Yeah, that's a great thing about...
Right. Do you love how he says there's no faster way to get yourself blackballed in the scientific community except to have new ideas and to propose new ideas, you know, and then he says, but you should go for it. Go for insight. You know, do it anyway. That wasn't very good advice. I mean, I agree with him, but the whole system is set up so that, like, if you were a neuroscientist or whatever and you wanted to go into it and pursue the insight and you're all excited, then you would end up getting there and knowing that you have to play the game. You have to, you know, follow the rules. You have to take the big book of whatever it is that's already been decided. You know, you have to learn that, and you have to not have any insight. A friend of mine that's a doctor was just telling me he's disillusioned with medicine after all of his med school because it's so unintuitive. It's the opposite of it, you know, so he wants to go off and do something different now, integrative medicine. which there's not even like a school of, a professional school, but it's a more holistic, you know, it deals with a lot more than just like what the fire is, you know, and putting it out. It goes deeper than that, but that would be insight, you know, that would be new ideas. And anyway, I mean, I agree with him, but it's not gonna work for a career. I hope you want to, like, you know, work at the car wash. You can't even work at the car wash. Everything's a brown bear now. I hope you just want to do neuroscience as a hobby if you follow his advice, because that's, you know, that's why I'm not out in the corporate world, or that's why I have problems. You know, when you're intuitive and you follow your insights, you go for it anyway. And the world doesn't like it. The world doesn't like it. The rest of the world doesn't like it. So you come to YouTube, and then you can finally find people that understand what the heck it is you're talking about, what you've been going through, and you're so relieved. I'm so relieved for you guys. I really am. I don't even think I've ever said that, but it's like such a relief to come and have to be able to chat with people and know people understand what I'm saying, first of all. Even if you don't agree, at least you understand what I'm saying. And just to have people to like chat with and stuff, even though I get way behind, it's still just like a freaking so awesome. So thanks. And Brian 2315, bam, because that's like exactly what you said in your comment.